Congressman, did you learn anything new? Did you get an admission from the Commerce Secretary today about his previous testimony?
No apology, Chris, and continued deception. I mean, he contradicted documents that have been filed in court. We all know that he consulted with Steve Bannon, that he had the idea of adding this census question for political reasons or in the direction of the White House, and he just flatly denied that and continued to have the pretext that this was something that the Justice Department was asking him to do in the face of documents showing the exact opposite.
So he lied to you. I mean, I guess my question is, are you going to refer? There's all this talk of, the Republicans in the Oversight Committee are going to refer Michael Cohen for a criminal, because of what he said to the committee and a criminal referral. What do you do with Wilbur Ross just continuing to lie after the court said he lied?
Well, I mean, this isn't the first time he lied to Congress. He blatantly lied to Representative Meng, asked him point blank a few months ago, did you ever consult with anyone at the White House about the census question? And he said, no, I did not. And then there is an admission that he actually talked to Steve Bannon precisely about this question. So this isn't a gray area. He lied before. He continues to lie. And it's just as if this administration is shameless about it.
So, Thomas, tell me what your lawsuit's theory of the case is when you say that he's engaged in a conspiracy to deprive people of their rights.
Well, it's what we all now know, which is that he consulted with the White House, he consulted with Chris Kobach, he consulted with Jeff Sessions and others in the Justice Department over the course of almost the entire year of 2017 in order to concoct a reason to add the citizenship question to Census 2020.
And your understanding of the intent of that is what?
The intent is clearly to get an undercount and ensure that the growing power of the Latino community in particular is somehow curbed through ensuring that the census is inaccurate, which is a harm to the entire country. Wilbur Ross should not be Commerce Secretary first because he has politicized the census for the first time in our history. You add to that he's lying to Congress on multiple occasions about it, and this guy belongs in no cabinet whatsoever. He should be retired.
I want to say that him saying lying, two federal courts have basically found this. This is the most recent district judge in California. The evidence overwhelmingly shows Secretary Ross decided to add the question well before DOJ made the request in December, and his reason for doing so was not to improve the enforcement of the Voting Rights Act. This purported purpose was a mere pretext. What can Congress do, Congressman Khanna, about this? It's before the Supreme Court. The deadline is approaching. What happens now?
Well, we're going to file an amicus brief for the Supreme Court on behalf of Congress, documenting all of his lies and documenting that he did consult with Steve Bannon and the White House. At least Jim Jordan, the Republican on the committee, is honest that he just wants to count citizens. What's so dishonest about Wilbur Ross is he's not admitting the real motive, and that is that the White House doesn't want all people counted, which the Constitution requires. I mean, it's a nationalist agenda that is contrary to the Constitution. So we're going to file a brief with the Supreme Court. We can refer him for lying to Congress, but obviously that's the Justice Department that gets to determine whether to prosecute him.
Thomas, what are the stakes here? I mean, I think people hear this and think, well, the question's on or it's not. How big a difference could it possibly make?
Can make a big difference. Census 2020 is going to determine what states get more representation in the House of Representatives. It's going to determine over the course of a decade how federal funding is distributed. Further, it's used in states to determine funding. It's used by private corporations to determine how they'll spend their resources as well. The census is the most important task assigned to our federal government from its very beginning through the Constitution, and this is the very first time that we've seen such a politicization of the census under Wilbur Ross.
Do you have, Thomas, do you have confidence in the Supreme Court? I think there's a lot of fear that that 5-4 conservative majority is looking for a reason to give the administration its way.
I do have confidence in the Supreme Court. I believe that there are a majority of justices who understand how sacrosanct the census is, that it should never have been politicized, and that the way this administration has gone about lying to the public and lying to Congress about it has to be something that is sanctioned. And that sanction should be removing a question that threatens to make all of Census 2020 a sham. If you come back with garbage data, that is data that's going to haunt us for the course of the next decade.
Yeah.
I do have faith in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, votes, representation, billions of dollars, all on the line in this. Congressman Khanna and Thomas Sainz.